Hello everyone, welcome to our first implementation video for the summer activity guide. In these videos, what we're going to be doing is taking a bit of a deeper dive into the actual activities and challenges that are part of each age group for Unit 1. We hope to help you be able to put these into practice by giving you a walkthrough of what the resources and the activities look like. So this is the actual guide. We want to show you what they look like, and we're going to go ahead and show you where they are as well. But there are different guides independently packaged for each age group. And what they are is a set of activities and challenges that are easy to implement in your program through different modes of delivery. And those different modes of delivery, we recognize that programs are really stretched this summer with needing to provide virtual programming, at-home, take-home packets, as well as digital programming, and in some cases, in-person programming, and being able to pivot between those different modes of delivery on a dime. And so we recognized a need, the statewide networks did, in conversation with the programs that they support, a need to provide these resources. And that's how this came about. And so Rachel's going to walk us through where these resources are, because I know that's your very first question. How do I get my hands on these activities? So what website is this, Rachel?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jennifer. This is summeractivityguide.org. You will see that a couple times. We'll be sure to navigate it here and then also again at the end of this webinar so that you can make sure that you have all of the information that you need. So if you type in summeractivityguide.org, it will take you to this beautiful website where it is really your one-stop shop for all of the resources that you could need this summer. You'll see that first we're really going to focus on where you can find the units themselves. You'll see if you scroll down, that down here it says download the summer activity guide. You will see right now Unit 1, or the unit called Who I Am, is available. So you'll see it broken down for activities for each of the 4 age groups, which we'll get into in just a minute, as well as a comprehensive supplies list. So that supply list really walks you through everything that you could need to implement all of these activities for your group and for your different age groups. And so if I want to work with 10 to 12-year-olds, this is everything I would need for this entire unit. You would also be able to download by age group all of the different units. This is for 5 to 9, an example, and again, this is the 16 to 18. So again, this is your one-stop shop, summeractivityguide.org, and we'll be sure to bring you back here to show you some of the other great features of this website before we end today.
Thank you, Rachel. So a little more background on the summer activity guide. You'll see that it's really easy to use. Each of the activities and the challenges are only one page. It was designed to be turnkey, really adaptable again to different modes of delivery, and easy to implement. So very, very limited materials and supplies. And that will allow young people who are participating at home through virtual, digital, or at-home delivery to be able to have many of those materials already on hand. Another key note is that the language is written very simply so that in many cases a young person could self-direct through an activity or have very minimal guidance from a parent or caregiver in order to work through the activity, and that's all very intentional. So what we're going to do today is we're going to show you what these activities look like. We're going to give you some tools and tips for adaptations through those different modes of delivery, and we're going to have a bit of a demonstration on one of the activities. So that's where we're going, so we're glad that you're here. Now, who are we? Let's go ahead and, since you're going to be spending a half an hour with us today, Here we are. My name is Jennifer. I've been working in youth development for about 25 years and have a long history of writing programs and activities for out-of-school time programs. Rachel?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Rachel. I have been in the field of youth development for a little over 8 years now and have experience writing programs both in the in-school and out-of-school time settings. And I've had the pleasure of working with Jennifer for over 5 years now. So we're a fun team and we've had a great time working together on this project.
Sure have.
So briefly to introduce the themes. There are, as we mentioned, there are 5 units that will make up this summer activity guide. Today we're going to focus on Unit 1, Who I Am, which really dives into social and emotional learning and self-discovery topics. There will be follow-up pre-recorded webinars just like this for each of the units as they're released. You'll see Unit 2 is called Healthy Life, where we'll be focusing on physical and mental well-being. Passion and Purpose, which is a lot of our service learning activities. Invention and Imagination, which focuses on art and STEM. And then lastly, Exploring My World, which is about opening up our youth and teens' eyes to other cultures and expanding their worldview. But as I said, today we'll be focusing solely on Unit 1, Who I Am. So you've heard us mention a couple times that there are activities and challenges. So what are these? What are the main differences? Activities and challenges are also organized by the age groups, like the units. All activities and challenges include extension ideas that you can turn into ongoing projects to make these activities and challenges last even longer. Each activity also has discussion questions and adaptations for various content delivery methods. You'll see activities and challenges are very similar. They're all tied to the same theme of the unit. They both include intentional skill building for whatever skills we are trying to build within this unit itself. However, activities are slightly more time intensive and one-time events, whereas challenges are meant to be quicker, easier to implement, usually with fewer resources needed for each challenge, and they have an ongoing component. So it's something that you would do maybe all week or even all month, like a workout challenge. So 30 minutes of physical activity a day for 2 weeks, that would be called a challenge. So that's the main difference. I think a big thing here is just remembering that activities are one time, probably a little bit more time intensive, and have dedicated time for reflection and discussion. That does not mean that you can't do reflection and discussion for these challenges. It just means that we have built in predetermined questions for those activities.
Great, so let's do a little bit of a deeper dive here. So this is the packet of activities and challenges for the age group 5 through 9. We also want to share that if you are serving younger than 5, many of these activities are pretty general, and with some adult support can really be implemented with that age group as well. This activity set has 8 activities and 2 challenges. So every unit will have 10 total learning experiences for young people. And right here you can see the titles of the activities. Now it's important to note that when we get to the 10 through 12, you're going to see a lot of parallel activities. So they've been adapted to be developmentally appropriate for that age group, particularly when we're talking about the extension activities and experiences or the questions for reflection, but many of the activities are similar in terms of implementation. Wanted to point out one particular unique situation in this first batch, and that is that in both cases, the challenges actually build off of the activities. So it's a really great way to keep an activity in use and ongoing for young people. Those 2 examples are the workout cube that relates directly to the Roller Workout Week challenge, where young people are creating an exercise cube and then challenging themselves to use it every day for a certain amount of time. And the other one is creating coping cards, which helps young people create coping skills and strategies to try out, and then putting those into practice over a course of time and learn new skills. A couple adaptations that I want to point out. Now these are from different activities and challenges that you'll find in the guide, but what I want to point out here is this idea of creating circles of communication with young people. On this activity on the left called Photo Scavenger Hunt, young people are using a smartphone or another device to take pictures. There is a page with prompts that guide them through what pictures to take. As you're thinking about how you could deliver this virtually or digitally, if your young people aren't in program with you, consider creating these circles of communication where you may give the instructions either digitally or virtually. Young people will go off and do the activity on their own in their homes, and then they might share photos to a Facebook page or a program platform. And that allows multiple touch points. So you don't have to think about this activity as a one-time standalone experience. It actually could be 3 experiences on 3 different days that create ongoing touch points and engagement with young people to keep them connected to your program. Another adaptation is this workout tracker challenge. Now this relates to the roller workout activity where young people are setting a goal for themselves. They're rolling a cube that has an exercise on it, and then they're tracking their engagement in that exercise. If you were delivering this virtually or digitally, you could actually create a shared virtual tracker for young people to enter into. So they could actually see their progress, they could see their peers' progress, they could give each other accolades and props, and you could even provide incentives for getting to that goal and be able to help them track their progress all along. So those are two simple adaptations that you could make. And again, these are listed in the activity themselves. So you'll see those ideas right in there so you can transform from in-person programming to other modes of delivery. The same summer activity guide for 10 through 12 looks a little bit different but has a similar feel. Here's the cover, and again, it has 8 activities and 2 challenges. So on the left here, again, you see the activities. You'll see a lot of the similar activities and challenges. Again, they are adapted developmentally to be appropriate for that age group. Want to point out a few adaptations here for these 2 activities. Just some examples. Again, each activity and challenge has those ideas incorporated into the text itself. An upcycled self-portrait. This is where young people are using their recyclables and really trash and junk that they find around their house to create a sculpture that represents them. This is one of the intro activities because it helps young people be able to share some of what they care about or represents them by way of the sculpture, but uses stuff again that they can find around their house. So again, consider how young people can engage in this at home. They are using materials that they already have. They can share photos and examples of their material, of their sculpture to your Facebook page or your program platform. If you're doing it in person, you can even create a unique box of Tinker Toys the young person could pick up, and you can challenge them to make a sculpture out of that box of materials. Now, given that we are in a sanitation and a socially distancing orientation, this is a perfect activity because you can give each young person a unique box of materials and challenge them to make that sculpture out of what's in that box and lying around, so they don't have to share materials and you don't have to clean and sanitize a lot of materials. The talk show interview, an adaptation for this experience, which is really about a young person creating a makeshift pretend video of themselves being the interview guest on a TV show, talking about their experience over the last few months. In this example, it's a great idea for having young people record and share their videos to your program page or your platform. And even if your programming platform allows, to be able to interview each other virtually by way of using the technology that you have available. So I want to walk you through one of the challenges very briefly. This is called Crystal Letters for ages 5 through 9. In the 10 through 12 age group, it's called Crystal Initials. And so we're gonna actually play out the steps here. The reason we want to walk you through this activity is because it's slightly more involved. I would say that it's the most involved of the activities that we have available in this batch, and still not very involved. But I want to show you how to do it in case you have any questions. Again, the materials and supplies are listed, but here I have a mason jar, and I have 3 cups of water. You can use 1 cup of water. The breakdown of the supplies is listed for you, but I'm going to use 3 cups because I have a big jar. And I have borax. Borax is available at any grocery store, Walmart, or Target. And essentially what we're doing with all the supplies for these activities is really to only offer ones that are really super readily available. So if you can't really get it at a grocery store or Walmart, it's definitely not included in these activities. So what I'm going to do today, it's kind of like a cooking show here. I'm going to make a letter out of this pipe cleaner. And we're really challenging young people to make a letter that goes with their name. Now, for a slightly older age group, they can actually use a couple pipe cleaners and they can form their whole name in a cursive kind of way. It's a little bit more challenging for them. For a younger group, 5 to 9, you're just going to want to help them create just their first initial. And so in some cases, I'm going to do a B here because my last name is Bateman, and a J was just so easy to make. I thought that we would show you something more challenging. So there you go. Formed a letter out of 1 pipe cleaner. I'm going to tie a string to the pencil or some sort of stick, anything that's going to lay across a jar. My goal here, you can see this, is to have something hanging into the jar, suspended in what will be water and borax. So I'm going to tie my letter to my pencil, and any sort of string or ribbon, you can use really anything that you can find there. It shouldn't be a problem in terms of dissolving or anything like that. Here what you have is my initial hanging off the pencil. Now I'm going to put the experiment together with young people. So what we're going to find out in this experiment is that young people are going to make letters that crystallize over using a recrystallization process. And that's all described for you. And so it's a really fun science experiment that's personalized by virtue of their letters. So what you're going to do is you're going to pour your water. The instructions tell you 1 cup of water to every 3 tablespoons of borax. I have 3 cups, so I've just tripled my ingredients here. So here I have my water, and then I have my pre-measured 3 tablespoons of borax. So I'm just going to put that in there and give it a good stir so it dissolves. And what's going to happen over the course of about a day is that crystals are going to form on this letter, and young people are going to end up with this really magnificent, sparkly letter that looks like rock candy that they can hang in a window or in a lighted area in order to be able to enjoy. So you're going to want to help young people here with this. This is probably the only activity that really needs some adult support, and that's listed again in the activity because what they're dealing with is very hot water. And you'll see that in the activity instructions. So helping get them started and making sure that they're using a safe container for hot water too. So after we've put our borax into our water, our boiling water, and it's dissolved, we're going to go ahead and put our letter into the jar. And the key point here, one reason we want to show this, is that the jar needs to be big enough for the letter to not touch the sides. If it touches the sides, what's going to happen is the letter is going to crystallize against the jar, and you won't be able to independently pull it out without breaking it. So once you have it placed in the jar, your borax is going to continue to dissolve, and you want it completely submerged. You can have kids watch it because over the next few hours, crystals are going to start to form. So they're going to get really excited. But the key point is they have to wait because 24 hours is really what it takes for the entire crystallizing process to happen. So best to do it, let it sit overnight. They can check back on it. They can report their progress. You can have conversations about it. But after 24 hours, they can go ahead and pull that out. That water will be cool, and they'll have a magnificent crystallized letter to hang in a window. So Rachel, can you show us that final picture again in the activity guide?
Absolutely, yes. That looks so fun, Jennifer. I cannot wait to try it.
I've already tried it. So here you go in this 4th picture here, you see Megan created her whole name there, and then you can really see what it looks like when it's all complete.
Very fun. Thank you so much for that demonstration.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on to our older teen age group. So similar to the younger age groups, you see that same look and feel, but this is the color scheme for the 13 to 15-year-olds. The teens are a little bit different. There are only 3 activities and 2 challenges for the teen age groups. That is because these are longer, more involved activities and challenges, and ones that you can really make span several days or weeks even. So there's not quite as many challenges, but there's just as much stuff to keep up, keep your teens busy and keep them occupied. So you see the 2 challenges here are marked by an asterisk. And similar to the younger age groups, you'll see mostly similar activities and challenges for the older teens, but again, they have been adapted to be a little bit more developmentally appropriate for each of the age groups, and different adaptations and extensions for the different age groups there. So 2 that I wanted to talk about are my vision board. If facilitating this one in person, I think a lot of us have made vision boards or seen them where, you know, a teen works and creates a sheet of paper with a bunch of different a bunch of different pictures and words of things that they are achieving or looking to achieve in life, any goals that they've set for themselves and where they want to see themselves. So facilitating this in person, you can have materials such as magazines, paper, glue, scissors, etc. available as you see on the supply list for teens to create their vision boards. But this is also the great thing about this is that it's so easy to do virtually or at home as well, even if a teen does not have these. If a teen has access to a Word document or Google or a Google Doc. They can truly find pictures online. They can use pictures of themselves, copy and paste and put onto a Word document to make just as beautiful a vision board and something that's really easy to share and send. That's another thing that we have. If you're doing this in person, it's really easy that at the end of the hour, hour and a half, the teens are making this, they can, stand up and share. This is a great activity though, if you are working virtually, to reconvene, maybe the next day, maybe in a couple days as a group, and give everyone time to share their vision board with the group. So also this is a great way for staff to get involved. Staff, share your vision board. Make an example, something that you can do this in the beginning if you want to share an example before teens start so they have a model to look at, or you can work on it at the same time as teens and share it along with them. You can also, if that's not a possibility, if teens are truly doing this digitally, meaning they are just downloading it on their own, no touch points with staff or peers, encourage them to share this with their family or their close friends who they do have contact with at this time. Similarly, with the I Am poem, this is a fun way to just help teens be reflective and really get that first step into poetry. So you'll see here on the activity guide, you'll see that there are prompts where teens will fill in the rest of the sentence with whatever comes to mind, whatever they think reflects them, however they want to complete this poem. If you're facilitating in person, teens can share their poems with each other. That's easy. It can be kind of a stand-up poetry session. They can do swaps where they read each other's if teens are not as comfortable sharing out loud. But another great thing to do, again, very easy virtually, you can have teens record themselves. Teens love taking videos, sharing on social media. This could be something very similar to that, where they share their poems with their friends, with each other. You can also have teens create their own prompts to add and extend to this poem. There's a lot of different things you can do here, especially with a follow-up discussion. If you do one of those virtually or in person, just a lot of these further discussion questions to make teens really think of and reflect about what they wrote and further expound upon the emotions that they touched upon while writing this poem. Again, then for the older teens, the 16 to 18-year-olds, you'll see it's largely the same activity themes, with the poetry one being a little bit different. But again, although they are similar in title and theme, there are adaptations to make these more age-specific and more adaptations to go along with this older age group. Two other activities here. So the My Time Capsule, some of you may have seen this already. This is a great activity that has come out during the time of this pandemic, where it's really allowing teens to take a snapshot of their lives at this time so they can see, 1 month, 3 months, a year from now, what life was like. Because this is something that people are going to remember for a long time. This is a challenge. This one's interesting. It can span a week, it can span 2 weeks, a month. You can really extend this to be as in-depth as you want, depending on how engaged your teens are with this. So you'll see there's a list of 5 different prompts of things for teens to write and reflect upon to add to their time capsule. Again, if doing in person, you can do this with paper, pen, pencil, marker. If doing this virtually or digitally, this is something easily that teens can write on a Word document, type in a Word document, that they can create images online. They can take pictures of themselves and include. There are a lot of really fun extension activities you can do with this. You can have teens create their own box to serve as a time capsule. They can create it out of construction paper. They can decorate it. They can get as creative as they want. They can add more than just the 5 reflection prompts that we have here. They can add actual items. They can add pictures. They can do a picture a day during this time of self-isolation. They can do interviews with family members. There's so many ways to make this a really long-term activity, and we would love this to just be something that sparks your creative juices and gets your ideas going. And then the last adaptation I'm going to talk about here is blackout poetry. So this poetry one is a little different than the 13 to 15-year-olds, a little bit more advanced. This one it's really fun if you haven't done it before. You take a passage from a book, from a magazine, from an article online if you're working virtually. You can either physically take that page from that book or that magazine, or working virtually, you can copy and paste the words from that article or whatever you're using. And you actually go through and you black out the words that you don't want to use. You try to look through and find a theme for your poem. You black out words that do not go along with your theme until all you're left with are the words that create a brand new poem out of the text that you were, out of the old text that you were using. There's a lot of fun things you can do here for extensions. You can have teens again, if they are in person, they can be sharing, they can share their poems with each other through either a poetry share or a spoken word. If online, you can have teens send pictures of their blackout poems to each other, because some teens get very creative and can draw pictures that go along with the poetry. You can also, again, do a recording of the teens reading their poems. There are many other things you can do. You can have teens try to make a series of blackout poems that all tie to the same theme. You can also see how the theme changes based on the text that you use. There's a lot of really great discussion questions and discussion topics that can come up from this as well, and a lot of different ways to do this both in person and virtually. And this last one I wanted to walk through, I don't have quite as detailed or fun of a demonstration as Jennifer did with the crystal letters, but the Feelings Jar Challenge is one that is in both age groups, actually. Super simple and a great way to help teens reflect and be more in tune with their emotions in terms of identifying their emotions, but also learning how they can regulate these emotions once they are understanding how they're feeling. So what I did here is very simple. I have a mason jar. This could be a bowl, this could be a bag. It can truly be anything that is available to your teens. And then I just cut up a bunch of white paper into slips. You can do construction paper if you want to make it prettier, but this is a very simple way to do it. And what we're asking teens to do here is, 4 to 5 times a day, we're saying like when you wake up, midday, afternoon, evening, before you go to bed, just take a second and pause. Think about how you're feeling in that moment. Right now, I'm feeling excited because I'm loving talking about this. So I would say, right now, I'm excited because I'm doing something that I'm passionate about and enjoying talking with my colleague about work that we've done. And I would fold that up and put it inside my mason jar. Later tonight, I could say, I'm tired because I had a long day of work and it's been a long work week. But you want to make sure that teens are constantly putting on one side of the paper their feeling word, and then on the other side of the paper, what caused that feeling? What are they doing right now that made them feel that way? And then putting that in the jar. For teens, a lot of times we especially recommend, they put a little reminder on their phone, or they have an accountability buddy that can help them remember that it's time to stop and reflect. But basically at the end of a week or 2 weeks, a month, however long you want to do this, we're going to ask teens to dump out these slips of paper onto a table. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. This is one of my favorite ways, but I would actually start to sort by the type of feeling. I would sort by positive emotions and more negative emotions. And then I would flip those over and see what I was doing during those times. What caused those positive emotions? What caused those more negative emotions? And I can see what activities were going on and what I was doing that made me happy, and what negative or what was going on that made me feel in a more negative light. What was going on in those times? For older teens, this is fun. You can actually have them graph their feelings to see what was going on, see how often they were in the positive emotions, how often they were in these more negative spaces. And then another thing that's a great extension here is they can actually make a plan. What do I do that makes me happy? How can I do that more often? What are things that are making me feel more sad or more irritated? How can I change that? What can I stop doing? Or how can I change the way that is impacting my emotions? This is just a great emotional regulation activity. It's something you can extend for as long as you want. We also have included places for teens, especially these older teens. We know they love to do their own research and figure out things on their own. So we included a reputable website where teens can go in and learn more about emotional regulation. This is just a great activity. Wanted to give you an example of how quick and simple this is, but very impactful all the same.
Thanks, Rachel. So lots of different ways. I love that activity because you can really take that in so many directions. And that's really what we want to encourage you to do. As much as these are pre-written, ready to go turnkey activities, these are experiences that are also seeds of inspiration for you. So you can pick them up and add in your own ideas. You can use these to supplement your existing summer programming, or reverse, you could use these as the core of your summer programming. use ideas that you come up with or other resources that are available to supplement this. So we hope that you find them feasible and adaptable and meet your needs. And you know, we wish we had these all ready to go for you. We're working as fast as you are right now, all trying to be really adaptable and pivot to the current circumstances. And so we are writing frantically. And although the first batch, the first unit is available right now, we're going to be releasing new units every 2 weeks. So you can keep checking back, and Rachel's going to show you again where they are, to the website to see and access the new resources that are constantly available. You will also find that there's a bunch of other resources available on there. For example, we have a webinar coming up on Tuesday, June 2nd that will be pre-recorded and then also will be recorded as well as available for ongoing use. And then there's a lot of supplemental materials. So if this was overwhelming for you and you need to see something in print, these quick guides tell you how to pick up these resources, much like this video does, and put it into practice. The units will show up around the bottom there where the Who I Am currently is, and there'll be a new implementation video to go along with each unit as well. So thank you for engaging with us today. We hope that you found this useful, and we look forward to connecting with you again.
Yes, thank you everyone, and we look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks with the next unit implementation video. Okay, done recording.
So do I want to stop cloud recording?